All right, we're rocking and rolling, guys. Thank all of you for being here tonight. My name's Brandon Cunningham, and I am really excited to be on here with all of you to talk about a topic that I think many of you are interested in. It's our health. And when I ask people around the world how important is health to you, they kind of like, yeah, it's pretty important. And then I say, no, no, no. The comma's in the wrong spot. Like, how important is your health, right? Because now the number always goes up. It's always like out of a scale of 1 to 10, when we're talking about our health, it's a 10. And I'm 40. Wow, I just turned 48. I've been saying 47 for a year. I just turned 48. So this is my first video since I'm 48, I think. But anyway, it's obvious at 48 that you don't feel the same way you did at 28. And so I like to be active. I've got a wife, I've got 2 kids. One of them's a teenager, one's preteen. I got a ways to go. And so I've always looking for ways to improve my health. And we found something, our family. Graham, mute your line for me, please, or something happened there. So anyway, I found something a few years ago that completely has got me excited about how I take care of myself outside of a clean diet. I'm not a fanatic, but I do try to eat healthy. I'm not going to be hypocritical and say, you know, I only eat organic things, or I have a garden in my backyard and that's the only place I get my food. I do try to do the best I can, but I'm a busy father and husband and entrepreneur. And so I'm always looking for ways to up my health within my lifestyle and within the pace of life that I run. And I found some products that we are very excited about. And tonight is about not the launch of a product that happened about a month ago, but now some of the stories that have developed from the launch of a product called Protandim NAD. So it's a synergizer, guys, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. We got a couple of doctors on here with us tonight, as well as some people that have been using the product to share their stories. So let's, for the sake of time, your time, their time, all of us, let's jump into this and kind of start to discover a little bit more about NAD. You maybe never even heard of NAD before. You maybe not even heard of nutrigenomics, or the fact that you can actually control what's the expression of your genes by what you put in your mouth. And so let's start this right off the top. We've got Joan. So I asked a few people. I know the last name, so it's Tekula, right? Joan Tekula. Did I get it?
Very close. Tekula.
Yep, Tekula. Okay. So Joan, guys, is a podiatrist, and I met her a few months ago, and I absolutely fell in love with her from the very first conversation because, boy, if you want to just be around someone that calls it like it is and says what it is, no matter who's standing around, that's Joan. You've got her tonight. And she's been a physician and taking care of other people and their needs for 31 years, guys. She's got a wealth of knowledge. And she's recently, I was talking to her about our products and this specific product, and she got really excited about some things that she discovered. And I wanted her to share that. I asked her, like, so what's been the aha moment? So Joan, thanks so much for being on here, and share with us a little bit tonight. You're from Connecticut. I left that out. She's up there in the cool weather in Connecticut. But give us a little background of yourself, and then let's talk a little bit about this NAD.
Okay, I'd love that. Yeah, well, good evening, everybody. I'm Dr. Joan Tekula. As Brandon pointed, I am a podiatrist. I've been practicing medicine for 31 years. I'm very fortunate in that I work in a residential psychiatric hospital, so I'm one of the happiest doctors out there. I don't deal with any of the insurance nonsense, but I'm kind of have a strict rule about life, and if I don't enjoy doing something, I don't do it. Money is not where it's at for me. It's about really enjoying life. So as a residential psychiatric physician, I have a contract that I work 1 day a week, and that leaves me a lot of time to express my entrepreneurial passions. So I've owned a company where I provide assistive technologies for seniors to age in their home. I actually had an anti-aging spa for 4.5 years. And most recently, I've been a technology scout. So I work for a company that commercializes inventions. And what I do is I go onto government and university websites and I find incredible research going on. I focus on biomedical technologies, lo and behold. And I had the opportunity to speak with some of the most brilliant minds in the country. And what I learned over time was not only is there an awful lot of exciting stuff going on, and hopefully in the future will be commercialized and be available to the public, but I also learned that the path from discovery to commercialization is extremely long and very expensive, extraordinarily expensive. And so I have a dear friend, Mimi Madden, who introduced me to this product. And, I was using it. I thought it was great. I totally believed in it, was not interested in the business. And, as happens, they say this business is for everybody, but not all the time. You got to catch them at the right time. Something's got to happen. And what changed for me as I came to understand the product a little bit better and respect Mimi and having met you and then Lynette, was that this company really attracted a very special brand of people. This was not network marketing as I had been exposed to in the past. And I could spend the whole hour just talking about my network marketing experience. So you're fortunate. I won't. I'll summarize it to say I wasn't interested until I met you guys. And so yeah, the product is incredible, and the opportunity came at a time that was really timely, to say the least. So I'm going to talk. You asked me to talk specifically about NAD.
Yeah. So when we were talking, I asked you what was your aha moment with NAD, and you started talking to me about some things that you discovered while you were really kicking the tires on this thing, with some studies I think at MIT and some other things that were going on. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, I'm going to blend these two men's research. There's a David Sinclair, and he's at Harvard Medical School, and then there's a Leonard Guarente. I'm mispronouncing people's names. I would say with a name like Tekula, I really shouldn't be mispronouncing anything. Guarente, who is a professor at MIT, and both of them independently have been anti-aging biologists. And initially, it was David Sinclair who discovered NAD as being an absolutely essential cofactor for the protein, the sirtuin proteins. If anybody understands anything about science, even if they don't, I'm going to try to keep this very simple. Basically, we can be cloned because every cell in the body has all the genetic information for every function in the body, right? So how is it that this is a lung cell and this is a skin cell and this is an eye cell or an ophthalmic nerve cell? How does that happen? Well, within this cell, all the DNA material is there, but it doesn't all get expressed. And the reason for that is these sirtuin proteins are designed to sit on the DNA and suppress the expression of most of these genes, so that indeed the cells of the various organ systems perform what they're supposed to. So NAD being an essential nutrient is wonderful, except that by this time we're 50, we have about 50% of what we had when we were 20. And that means that translates into a reduction in protein of the, control of the sirtuins. Therefore, the DNA is left unattended, and you begin to have a breakdown of the function of the cell, which is why, as we all know, you're less likely to suffer from various ailments as a young person as you are as an elderly person, right? Because the longer you're around, the less protected your DNA, the poorer functioning is. So, so the NAD pathway was found. I know this was specifically Guarente at MIT, did studies first on yeast, then on the roundworm. I think it was the roundworm, and then on mice. And what he found was the common denominator in the longevity, and longevity is proven in cells by duplication, how many times they can duplicate or replicate, was found, the common denominator was the sirtuin proteins, right? So, so what was I going to say about that? Oh yeah, so when he was doing the mice studies, and this is what I told you that I thought you said was very exciting, and it's incredibly exciting. He found that you can activate the NAD pathway through caloric restriction, which is all very well and fine, and we can all do that too if we can survive on 500 calories a day, which I have no interest in doing whatsoever. But what he also found is that when the mice, so they take mice from the same litter, numerous of them, some of them they would activate the NAD pathway, they would live longer, and they would live disease-free. The other ones would become obese, and they would succumb to all of these diseases, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, all of these. And so what he decided to do is see, can we induce obesity and treat them and activate their NAD pathway? Will they still succumb to these diseases? And what he found was that no, indeed they do not. So now we have a link between diet and health. So we all know that people, unfortunately, very overweight people suffer from a lot of chronic illness that the rest of us do not.
I'm sure you see that in your practice all the time.
All the time. Sadly, especially working in a psychiatric hospital, that's, they can't even sit up without support. It's pretty sad. But yes, but now here's the link. It's not just that it's poor food going in and so you are what you eat. It's more than that. It's that when you eat poorly, all those high-fat foods, your NAD levels are so low. Your sirtuin proteins are ineffective, and your DNA is not being suppressed and expressed the way it should be for the cells, and therefore you have a malfunctioning organ. And that's what happens. You begin to, hi there, you begin to get a loss of function and a confusion of the function. So, I meant to hit my buzzer to see how long I was talking for.
You're doing fantastic. And so that was the aha moment that we were talking about, is the fact that, no, we can't just go out and eat a bunch of cheeseburgers and say we're going to be healthy. However, that study did show that even though they gave some mice an unhealthy diet, they didn't experience the same things as the mice that were not having their sirtuins activated.
And he even found that they could succumb to disease, and then they activated the NAD, and there was a reversal of the disease process, which is just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Well, thank you for being on here. I know you had a very busy night tonight, and I'm so gracious to have you on here, part of what we're doing as a team. It's so wonderful to have someone like yourself that we get to talk to and ask questions to, and have you a part of this. So thank you so much for being on here tonight.
Very well. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for all you do.
Yeah, my pleasure. So that's Dr. Joan, guys, from Connecticut. And let's jump over now to Dr. Dondi Nettles. You guys, when someone walks in a room and you just know they're smarter than you? That's kind of what happens when Dondi walks in the room. You're just like, yeah, he's definitely smarter than me. That's the way it is. And so I've known Dondi for a number of years, and Dondi has a deep, deep understanding of activation, cellular activation, and specifically in some of these pathways. Now, we're going to talk briefly at the end of this about a couple of the pathways that you want to really know about. We're really focusing tonight about this NAD pathway. So Dr. Dondi, thanks for being on here. He's out in, I don't know if it's warm in Arizona, but I'm sure it's warm in some parts of Arizona, maybe not up in the mountains, but he's out in Arizona, guys, and has practiced for, how many years now, Dondi?
I was in practice for almost 20 years, but I sold my practice almost 10 years ago.
Okay. All right. So that's a whole nother story of, I'll tell you, he is working with us and the same thing Joan's doing, and as a team, and has been able to sell that practice and doing this full time with us. But Joan touched on a little bit of the topic of caloric restriction. And so I kind of want to bridge that over to you with this NAD product that we have. And, that's one of the different theories of aging. And the one we're really kind of focusing in on is this sirtuin production. And so tell us a little bit about what you're excited about with this new NAD product pathway and the production of sirtuins.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Brandon, for inviting me. It's a tremendous honor to be here. One of the things that I love the most about this sirtuin protein discussion is that people understand the benefits. They just really don't understand the reason. And the people that are doing keto or time-restricted feeding, or as Dr. Tekula said, caloric restriction, they already understand the benefits of what comes along with that, but maybe not understanding the key players in the background, the NAD and more specifically the sirtuins. And most people have never even heard of the word sirtuins, don't even know if it's a proper English word or not. But as Dr. Tekula said, it's 7 proteins, and all of our cells have 7 as human beings. And it doesn't matter whether it's a skin cell, a hair cell, a heart cell, or a muscle cell. All of our cells have 7. And the key interesting thing about this is how they're distributed is 3 of the 7 are working in the nucleus of the cell specifically, where the DNA strands are located. And 3 of them are working in the mitochondria, which is where the power or the cellular energy comes from. And 1 is kind of floating around through the cell, making sure the other 6 are working harmoniously. And I figured out a way to really explain it to myself, and that it's similar to like a conductor of a symphony, where you may have those 3 sirtuins in the nucleus are, say, part of the horn section. And you've got some French horns, and you've got a trombone, and you've got a trumpet. And then you've got 3 of them that are working in the mitochondria, or maybe like the string section and the percussion. You've got some violins, you've got some cellos, and you've got some bass drums and cymbals. Well, the conductor is the sirtuin that's floating around in the cell. And as Dr. Tekula said, and I'm glad she said that, is that what sirtuins are really masterful at is suppressing the expression of certain genes depending upon what type of cell it is. That's what a conductor does. So when a good conductor in a world-class symphony gets the best out of all 3 areas. So like I was saying, the horn section, the string section, and the percussion section, but not at the same time. He will just bring in some percussion and then bring in some stringed instruments, bring in some brass horns, and make sure that we are hearing symphonic noise where we can literally just close our eyes and be drifted away, versus a bunch of high-talented, high-caliber noise when they're all trying to play at the same time. So the sirtuins are so focused on efficiency of cell function the way a conductor would be in conducting a world-class symphony. And that's where we benefit from this NAD product that you're talking about, triggering that NAD pathway that gets less and less efficient over time and loses its inability to suppress negative effects of survival genes, which is why as we age, we succumb to age-related diseases.
So I've been a part of a bunch of conversations over the last couple months on this topic. And, some of it sticks, some of it leaves, and I'm trying to gather it back. But I think I heard it said that without NAD in the human body, you die, right? Like you can't survive without NAD.
Yeah, I mean, literally within about 30 seconds, if you shut off NAD production, you're going to be dead in 30 seconds.
So it's quick death, right? And so what's the statistic? You may have it, maybe not. Maybe you can just give me a round number, but I know NAD production declines as we age, but there's like a certain age where it's really down.
By the time we hit mid-age, so in our 50s, it's already suppressed about 50%. And it picks up speed dramatically each successive decade that we are alive. We get less and less efficient in these sirtuin functions and their ability to turn or to keep the negative survival gene switches turned off, which is why the aging population is more susceptible to diseases than the younger generation. It's a strict and direct corollary with NAD production and sirtuin efficiency.
Okay, so this is the product, guys. This is it. Maybe a little bit of a glare from the light, but that's it. Might be able to see it says NAD there, right? Tandem, NAD, Synergizer. So tell us a little bit, Dondi, Dr. Nettles, when you start taking this, give us some timelines. How soon do you start to, how soon do they document what's going on? What happens in a week? What happens in a month? What happens in a couple of months?
Great question. And as you mentioned about the importance of it and how dramatically and how rapidly we decline when we turn it off, it's not as rapid, but literally with that product that you were just holding up, within 24 hours, we turn back on or increase the NAD production by 100%. And that's literally unheard of. And here's the thing why it's so appealing to me is it doesn't violate biological laws, or it's not tampering with pathways in the human body to make that happen. It's just, and if you can compare activators to supplements, activators simply turn back on a pathway that is normal, natural, but has gone dormant or slowed down its efficiency, versus supplementing, which is a much slower process of supplementing something that we're deficient in. And the ability to activate DNA expression versus supplement, say, a nutrient, the direct comparison it's not even fair to compare them. Activators are so much greater at improving human health potential than supplements are, but it's very rapid, Brandon. So to answer your question, literally the product you were just holding up improves NAD function by 100% or increases it by 100% in just 24 hours.
And so you just touched on something that I want to touch on, and then we're going to bring some of our folks on that have been taken to hear their stories. And I want you to stick around to kind of co-host with me with some of these folks. But I guess these are activators, but most people know supplements by, just they're mega doses of compounds in these supplements. And so did you just say that you could possibly damage or suppress some pathways with regular supplementation? Like if you just gave yourself mega doses of an antioxidant or source, could that actually be working against you more than for you?
It can, absolutely. And it's actually been shown in research that mega doses of certain antioxidants actually become pro-oxidants. They create oxidative damage, the very thing that they're trying to suppress or minimize in small doses. And here's really the reason, Brandon, is because most of them are synthetic or they're very highly concentrated. The human body doesn't know what to do with highly concentrated mega doses really of anything, including water. If we drank gallons and gallons of water in a short period of time, we would die. Our body doesn't know how to metabolize it and process it. And when we take, say, something like vitamin C, which we all know grandma says is good for us, so take it when we get a sore throat and it helps, and it does. But mega doses of it in tens of thousands of milligrams, our body literally doesn't know what to do with it, how to metabolize it, and excretes it out in bowel movements. And as a chiropractor, I saw, literally hundreds and hundreds of x-rays of undigested vitamin tablets in people's bowels because their body doesn't know what to do with it.
So that's the big thing, guys, that I want to touch before we jump into these stories is what we're talking about is not a simple supplement like most people would think of a supplement. These are activators, and activation is what separates what you've been told. The reason you were probably really strongly urged to be on here tonight is because you're hearing about something that's completely different than the way most companies are trying to supplement or help the body. We're activating through cellular pathways. So let's jump into some stories, guys. Let's start with Graham. I see Graham's there. Go ahead and turn your mic off, Graham, or turn mic on. Guys, this is Graham Gonzalez. He's out of Florida. And I talked to Graham a couple days after he started taking Protandim. And you got to know Graham. The guy's just a workaholic. Graham, what'd you say you were literally living on like 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and that was kind of like the deal?
That is the deal. It's still the deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, but I talked to you this week and you're like, my sleep now, you told me, you're like, I can't wait to go to sleep to just see how amazing it is. So tell us what's going on.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on here, Brandon. And hello to all of you guys from Plant City, Florida. First of all, let me just open this up so that people may understand. I do food service. And for most of you guys that aren't familiar with food service, it's usually done at night or at super early hours of the morning. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is late. I know people that wake up at midnight so that they can service restaurants and hospitals and schools during the night so that in the morning time they can be serviced and ready for service. And that's kind of what I do. That's in the industry that I work. And it's a great industry, but the bad part about that is that I'm up so early, and it might not be so bad if it's like a season, but I've been doing this for over 25 years. So that gets old. The industry's great, the money's great, but the alarm clock completely sucks because you have to be up at a certain time to be able to perform certain duties. So, for the longest time I can remember going to bed and not actually falling completely asleep and just basically closing my eyes and the alarm goes off and then it's time to go to work again. So needless to say, I wasn't looking forward to falling asleep because the alarm was going to ring like 5 minutes later. It felt like that. And just recently after taking NAD, it didn't happen right away, but after a few weeks that I kind of played with the hours of when I was taking my NAD, I managed to figure out a way where I was taking part of it in the morning, part of it after lunch, and I started sleeping like I just can't even remember when I was sleeping this good. I wake up, I usually go to bed about 10, 11, usually 11, and I wake up at 3:30 in the morning, and I feel, even though I slept 4 hours, 3.5 hours, I feel like I had an entire 8 hours of sleep. where I wake up completely regenerated, and those 3 and 4 hours, I mean, this is some quality sleep where I have finally begun to have like crazy, vivid, just amazing dreams. So I'm always excited to go back to sleep. And I'm like, dude, I'm just in love with like my bed. People are like, you want to come out to Applebee's? No, no, thank you. I'm about to go to sleep. And people don't understand, but I'm looking forward to this. Guys, this is a whole new chapter of life for me. I'm looking forward to going to bed tonight.
That's awesome. So, Dondi, what do you think's going on there? How can someone that's only getting 4 hours of sleep be really getting their batteries charged up? What do you think?
It's awesome, and thank you for that story, Graham. Literally, it's just an example of when we take a wild animal and put them into forced captivity. So if you look at the animals the sickest animals on the planet are human beings and the animals that human beings control, the pets and the animals that we put on display in a zoo, because we're forcing them to behave in unnatural ways. And going to bed, between 11 and 11:30 and waking up at 3 a.m. as what we call diurnal beings. There's nocturnal, which means you're awake during the night, and there's diurnal, which means you sleep during the night. Graham is forcing himself into something that's unhealthy for him, and he's been doing it for 25 years. So his body has learned how to adapt. But now what we're doing, even though he's still doing that same thing, NAD is just allowing, with cellular efficiency, and this is the key, with cellular efficiency, allowing his body to rest, recover, and rejuvenate by maximizing cellular efficiency, even though he is still behaving like a nocturnal animal, which is not his natural way of sleeping, but he's already receiving the benefits. And that's the difference between a stimulant from the outside or a supplement to help you stay awake or go to sleep, or triggering the natural body pathway, which is what NAD does. Great example, Graham.
That's awesome.
Oh,
That's awesome. Thanks, Graham, for jumping on. And I don't want to hold you back from your pillow. You're like 30 minutes away, so go dream away, buddy.
I sure am. Well, thank you. Thank you, Dondi, for that explanation.
All right. So let's jump over to Tori Hill. She's over in Louisiana. And I've known Tori for a number of years now. Just a fantastic, fantastic woman. Worked as a school teacher for a number of years, and like all of us, kind of has some health things going on. So, Tori, share with them a little bit of your story with NAD, kind of, what you experienced at first, but then now what you've clearly identified what's going on. And remember, guys, we're not saying that we treat, cure, prevent, mitigate any disease whatsoever. In fact, if a disease name comes out of our mouths, I'm going to go back and edit it somehow. We won't talk about diseases, okay? But we can talk about things that we have to deal with through the day. Graham was talking about things he has to deal with. So, Tori, you're a pro at this. Tell us what's going on.
All right. Thanks, Brandon, for having me. I really appreciate it. And you said something earlier, how important is your health? Well, growing up most of my life with some health issues that really affected me. When I got on NRF2 activation 9 years ago, my life totally changed. But this right here, I'm going to tell you, I have a list of things. And Dondi, I have a question for you at the end. First thing I noticed was my energy level was through the roof, but also my motivation. I live by a checklist. It's something I've done my whole life. Being a school teacher, it's what I do. And I would go through my list, and there were days that I would dread it, and I didn't even want to continue, and I wouldn't. I would tell myself I'll get to it tomorrow. Now I go through this checklist, and I'm like, okay, what's next? What else can I do? And I'm nonstop during the day. It's almost like I can't even wipe the smile off my face, Dondi. And people are actually noticing it. They're like, Tori, what are you on? Or, it's like, you're so happy. What's going on? And every day, and honestly, I feel it within 2 hours. I take the product 2 hours, I'm ready to go for the whole day. But here's something that I don't understand what's going on. True story. About 3 weeks ago, I was walking out of the grocery store, walking up to my car, and I looked at it. I knew where I parked, and I'm like, that's not my car. Where's my car? I hit my little key, my lights flashed. I looked at Tim, he goes, Tori, that's your car. I'm like, no, it's not. My car is black. He goes, Tori, that's your car. I'm like, I'm telling you, it looks navy blue. It looked like this bright blue. So Dondi, everything is brighter. The grass is brighter. The sky is brighter. Everything. And it's amazing me. People are even telling me, Tori, your eyes, there's a difference in your eyes, and it's blowing my mind. But this is what I'm experiencing every single day. The biggest thing for me is the happiness. You could tell me something that could totally rock my world. You could tell me something so negative, and I'm like, whatever. And I'm still that happy. I got a smile on my face, can't wipe it off. So Donnie, what's going on with why is everything so bright for me?
It's a great question, Tori. And as we age, we start to see the processes, the normal things of our body function start to degrade. I remember when I was about 42 years old, and literally almost overnight, I had a problem reading a sentence in the chart notes for my patients. And that's when I realized my eyes were going down. And it happened very rapidly. So that's just one example. But the eyes are something to start showing age, usually between our mid to early our 40s, and start to progress and get worse and worse. Well, because it's just the natural aging process of the body, unless we can restore efficiency to that process. Because as Dr. Tequila said, by the time we get to about 50 years old, we're about 50% less efficient in our sirtuin function. And we just figured out a way with NAD, because every cell of our body has these sirtuins, and when we have a systemic or what is an overall body response, we start seeing these things that we weren't expecting that are kind of the diamonds in the rough, or the silver lining, or all these other cool things. And eyesight is a very rapid one, because it's something that degrades in our 40s, and it's very quickly to come back, or it changes. More vivid color, more focused, people having to change their eyeglass prescriptions as their body or their eyes are adapting better. It's unbelievable. And that's just one example.
Wow. And it's true. I have to add this. Graham said something about his dreams are real vivid. Even my dreams are brighter. It's unbelievable. And I have to leave you with this too. My mental clarity and my focus is on target. It's something I experienced, and it actually happened at Elite Academy in Long Beach. I was having a conversation with someone, answering her question, and I could hear everyone else around me. I actually turned around and I answered this person's question. I'm like, what just happened? Like, for me, growing up with mental clarity focus issues, it was like, wow, what's going on? So this right here, I don't go a day without. I really don't. So Brandon, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. I love the mental motivation you talked about, because that is exactly, like, people ask, what are you feeling? And I'm like, I just feel like mental energy. Like, I feel like my brain has a lot more power. Like, I just added I doubled the horsepower up here, and I can just keep going. And so mental motivation, you need to tag that one. I love that. So let's go to our last folks for the night, but certainly not least, you guys, these two ladies are amazing, but Miss Maggie, she's pretty special, guys. So these folks are from Tampa, Florida. This is Jessica and Maggie Perez, or Perez. I guess I mispronounced that from time to time. So you guys, I was talking to Jessica, and she's like, well, you need to talk to my mom. So mom, Maggie, mom, what's going on over there in Tampa, Florida?
Oh, she's got a story to tell you. So why don't you start? Go for it.
Okay. I listened to you talking, and you're saying after 50 years, your sirtuins are down. What did you say, 50%? I'm 82, so mine are down over 80%. However, I can tell you, last week I worked I was a practice administrator for a dentist, but I have retired twice and I'm still working. But last week I've been taking the NAD now for what?
A month.
For a month.
Right about a month.
Last week I worked a full 36-hour week. bringing home things to be able to prepare myself for the next day, bringing home work and things. I wasn't tired. I wasn't confused. You're right, Tori. You're absolutely right. Your mind is like, I'm thinking my mind wasn't this sharp when I was 50. And that I have to credit to NAD, because I wasn't feeling like that beforehand. Happy things not rocking my world. I was getting to the point where I was an old crank. And now I'm not. So yes, I agree with you. I think they've slipped some marijuana in my NAD or something. And I'm feeling that much better. I sleep maybe, before I would sleep 2 or 3 hours, wake up, be up 2 or 3 hours, sleep another couple of hours. Then when I had to get up, I hated to get up because I was tired. Now I'm not. Now if I can sleep, and I do, I sleep 3, 4, 5 hours, and I wake up and I'm ready to start doing things. I don't feel like I have to stay in bed. I'm more aware, more awake. I feel great. So
when we say start doing things, that includes painting the dining room.
I saw those pictures. Like, that mean you worked 36 hours and came home and wanted to paint the dining room after 30?
Yeah, that was the Sunday after.
That was the Sunday after. I had worked till Friday, and then on Sunday, she and I painted the dining room. And that includes, of course, you have to clean everything before you paint, and you have to dust, and you have to wipe off the. Of
course.
I was fine.
We taped. We're good at that.
I got some really good news for you. So NAD is herbal. It's made of plants, but not those herbs, honey. We don't have those herbs in there. So, but it is herbal. So you're kind of on the right track, but we were not going down.
Well, actually, when I started Protandim, because I've been on Protandim for 9 years now, I knew that I was on the right track. So every time that she came and said, "Ma, now we have nerve tooth," I'm taking it. "Ma, we've got the prebiotics, the probiotics, the hand cream, the skin cream, whatever it is, it's on my dresser. All of it, and I use it all."
I love
it.
Yeah,
she's definitely there.
Very good results with every product I've used.
Another thing when we talk about, we talked a lot about the mental clarity piece, Brandon, but something that my mom mentioned to me today was the inflammatory response piece. And, she does have arthritis, right? She does have a lot of joint issues, but the bottom line to me is that she's able to do the get up on that 2-step ladder and and do the stuff that I didn't want to do, but she did, which is pretty awesome.
I work with people all in there from 28, I would say, to 46, 47, except my doctor. He is 6 months younger than I am, but all the others are. And they all complain because I get around better and I get under the desk and do the dusting, and I can do all of that they can't do.
Yeah, that's
so awesome. I think it's working.
It's working.
I think it's working.
Don D, what are we allowed? We are allowed to say something about NAD when it comes to inflammation. I know it's in one of the bullet points, and we got to be careful. But what is it? What is it that the company allows us to say about NAD and inflammation?
It really comes down to function, Brandon, because inflammation, if you think about what inflammation actually is, it's a normal, healthy response of the body when there's injury or say surgery or some type of tissue damage. It's normal and expected. But there should be a time when the body and its efficiency to heal that area, the inflammation will simply go away as the normal function of that area the body restores and returns. If we find that it's not, and something turns into a chronic inflammatory situation, either A, there may not be enough energy of that part of the body's system to limit or heal through the inflammation, or there may be improper signaling going on to the body to even establish and allow the body to know that there is inflammation to be healed. So it's improving the efficiency of body communication to itself, allowing the body to know the significance of the injury, to heal it in totality, not just partially, which was what leads to chronic inflammation when that communication is not there, or not enough information or not enough energy to complete the cycle of repair from inflammation or from the original injury or trauma or surgery that caused it in the first place. So it's kind of a two-edged sword. not enough energy to complete the cycle, or not enough information to generate the healing cycle, which may be in some cases, both of them are existing at the same time. Not enough proper information in the body communicating to itself, and not enough energy to complete the process.
Something I'm seeing throughout the numbers, and just so those that out there that are watching this, we have over 100,000 people in our organization, and not all of them are using NAD yet, but we do see quite a number using NAD. And Don D, maybe you've seen this as well. Miss Maggie, you're going to love hearing this. Those that are taking NAD, or as you affectionately called it, NAD, which I think is hilarious.
Love her.
We're seeing that people, the older people are, the larger the effects they're having from NAD, like unbelievable results. And the people that are a little sensitive, if you're caffeine sensitive, some of those folks are taking just 1 tablet of NAD a day. I know Dr. Jones doing that. But like Miss Maggie, are you taking 2 a day?
No, I take Nerf 1.
NAD.
All 3 of them, I take 1 a day. NAD, the NAD, the Protan, Nerf 1 and Nerf 2, all of them 1 a day.
Okay, simple. So let's talk about, so she just touched on something. We're going to close with this, guys. I want you, Dr. Nettles, to address this. So some of you have heard, we're throwing out these terms, NAD and Nerf 2 and Nerf 1. Those are simply pathways, guys, and we focus tonight on NAD. However, you've heard about Nerf 2 tonight, conversation, Nerf 1. And so it's these 3 products, right? It's 3 separate products, right, Dr. Nettles? 3 different products. Mm-hmm. And let's just wrap this up tonight in just a few minutes. With what we're finding. I mean, we've talked about the amazing results of this, just unbelievable results of NAD. But what are we finding when you're using all 3 of these together?
It's an amazing experience, Brandon. And I was trying to think of the best way to kind of wrap this up. And it takes me back to my college days when I was a starving college student driving around a 1976 Datsun B210 that had a gas gauge that didn't work. So I didn't know by the indicator light coming on when my car needed gas until it ran out. And I figured out, I'm figuring I'm a college student, I can figure this out. Set it at 0 and run it until it runs out. And now I know I've got that many miles per tank, and then try to keep it on 20 miles, below doing that. That was a way of kind of circumventing the problem. That's what supplements do. Helps us circumvent the problem, but it doesn't fix the problem. So the best thing is to have the light indicator on, triggering us when we need gas before it runs out, so we put it in. So now we've got a new Durango that has a constant running tab called DTE, which means distance till empty. And we're just watching that number, which starts in the mid 400s, go down. And when it gets to a certain level, it'll say low fuel. That's kind of like our body having symptoms. And if we don't pay attention to the low fuel and it starts blinking, that's the body saying, hey, you got to get to the doctor. The doctor comes out and tells us what we've got. And if we don't pay attention to that, then out of gas, we're gone, we check out. So what NAD does is, using that kind of an example, where does energy come from? Where does the fuel of our body come from? From the mitochondria. That's what NRF1 synergizer, the Protandim NRF1 synergizer, optimizes that expression, or optimizes that pathway of the body, like having super fuel filled in the gas tank. But what if that's rocket fuel and you're driving around a 1976 Datsun B210? It's going to kill the engine. So it's why you don't do NRF1 by itself. With energy, with no direction is great. It's just potential benefit, no real benefit. Well, Protandim NRF2 gives the nucleus of the cell the ability to identify where that energy is needed and use it accordingly, and allow the systems of the body to work more efficiently. Here's the challenge that we had prior to the release of NAD. Our mitochondria was providing great energy. We were having great benefits. Our NRF1 stimulating that, our mitochondria to produce energy, we had great benefits. Our Protandim NRF2 was allowing our DNA to work better, allowing the nucleus to work better by improving oxidative stress reducing survival gene production. But here was the challenge or the limiting factor. The energy has potential. It's kind of like the gas gauge coming on. But if the nucleus doesn't interpret when it needs fuel, when it needs energy, and have the ability to communicate to the mitochondria, hey, we need fuel down here, that was the challenge. NAD has literally brought the ability of the nucleus to communicate to the mitochondria when and how often and how much energy it needs, so that the mitochondria is producing it according to the demand of that cell. And it restores communication that we lose over time. And it's always like everything is working right and the tank is always full. So we don't have to track it. We don't have to monitor how many miles before we run out of gas, how many miles before we're getting into the danger zone. It just restores communication, gives us a full tank where energy, efficiency, and cellular cleanup, this is where the brighter colors and brighter, more vivid dreams and those types of things, it increases the cleanup of cellular debris that happens when you are having a more efficiently run cellular system, not just a certain part, but the entire system more efficiently. And the NAD cleans it all up, orchestrates the communication, and gives us top-notch performance. And it's not, and all three activators and that tri-synergizer effect, there's never been a way to do that with pharmaceuticals or synthetic means, and there's obviously never been a way to do it with natural means and these all natural products that we have. This is groundbreaking, Brandon. It's huge.
Awesome stuff, guys. Thank all of you for being on here tonight. The people that invited you here tonight are anxious to hear back from you. So get back with them. Let them know that you watched this tonight. Let them know which one of these or all three that you want. We talk mostly about NAD, but we know scientifically proven now when you take all three of these together, it's 10x, 20x sometimes the results of taking them individually when you take them together. And when you take them together, they're discounted. And it can be delivered right to your door. So we hope that if you value your health tonight, I know this, if you value your health, what you just heard tonight is probably new information. And there is such a small percentage of people that know what you know now. I mean, there is a small percentage of people walking this earth that know what you know now just over the last 40 minutes or so. And that puts you in a very unique position to jump on this for your own health. Why wait? Jump on it. But you also heard along the way us talking about being partners and linking arms and doing this together. Guys, if you ever wanted to be a part of something bigger than yourself, this might be something you want to look at. If you think you're going to share this information, if you think you're going to go tomorrow and say, hey, you ever heard of sirtuins? You're going to get a really funny look, but that might be a really interesting conversation for you. Just know that you have an opportunity to partner with us. You have an opportunity to partner with the person that invited you here tonight. And I just want you to think about this as we close this thing out. Why would two amazing doctors with long credentials and years in practice, why would they be partnering with us? And I promise you, they didn't do it just to supplement their income, okay? They see the big vision here. And Don D's case, he's been with us long enough that he's actually sold his practice and is doing this with us full time. But however you see this, just know that you've been introduced to something that a small fraction of the world knows about, and that puts you in a very unique position to take advantage of this if you are an entrepreneur. If you're that type person that thinks entrepreneurial, you know, like if you go in a stadium and you see all the people with the beers and the hot dogs and you start adding up the numbers times the cost of the hot dog, if that's you, then you might want to know a little bit more about this. If you're constantly trying to figure out how much the owner's making, I love you because that's me, right? And so you might want to know how you can take advantage of this stuff because you can. Some of us are. We're definitely taking advantage of it for our own health. We hope you enjoyed this tonight. And we want you to share it. So we'll have this for all that are here tonight. We will have this recording available within a day or so. Just get with the person that put you on here. The link will be available. We'll put the link on social media and YouTube and whatnots for those that missed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank all of you amazing people for being on here tonight. You probably have 1,000 questions, so go call the person that invited you here and ask their questions, and let's get them answered. So thank you guys for being on, and we'll see some of you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Brandon. Good night, everybody.
All right.
Thank you. Good
Good
night.
night, everybody. Thanks.
Good night.
Appreciate it.